it comes down to Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford. Now, the thing about it is Canelo Alvarez understands mental pressure, but in this case, he will be applying it. And I'm going to let that be clear that because Terrence Crawford came into the sport as more of a boxer, more elusive, slick with it, and really start adapting to the southpaw stance. Whereas Canelo Alvarez, straight out of the gate, was a fighter. He was an absolute beast from the beginning. So where we get into this is how you have to match these guys up. When you talk about applying mental pressure for someone like Canelo Alvarez, like he doesn't have to carry the pressure because he's already proven that he can fight way above his weight class and at the same time dominate and become a champion. Terrence Crawford has done the same thing, but here's how we stack these guys up when it comes down to the three tiers of understanding what has to happen when you see these kind of fighters fighting this kind of fight, right? So what we're going to do is break down. I'm going to recampus for those of you who are just joining is mental pressure is a real thing in boxing. And when you got Canelo Alvarez, who will be applying the mental pressure, and you have Terrence Crawford, who understands how to take mental pressure, dice it up, and put it on a sandwich, then you have two real dynamos inside of the ring. This is why this fight is really interesting to the fight fans because they don't see the weight class difference. What they see are two guys who have more of the same mindset, seek and destroy. So I'm going to tell you the three areas that you have to pay attention to in boxing when you find guys of this magnitude, which is not very often when you find guys who are at this level of elite going heads up against each other with really nothing to prove because they both have already built their storied careers. Now, here's how you frame this up. There are three areas that you have to concentrate on. And if you're thinking about, pulling for one of these guys individually or not, this is something that you'll have to consider. Number one, when you're fighting at this level, you'll need one thing first, and that is what we call style. And style is the ability to adapt to situations because when you're at high level boxing, you can't just get in there with a simple jab because people know how to take your jab away a lot of different ways. So you have to have more in your arsenal. And anyone that says, oh, well, yeah, that'll get you through. That'll get you through once you've proven you can overcome the hurdles and the obstacles that you'll face. And then you're back to the jab, closing the fight out. That's how it works at high level boxing. Now, here's the thing. Muscle memory must be embedded when you're doing pressure styles. You need to let your hands go. You're going to need things that will bring that kind of mindset, and that is peekaboo postures. Not fighting in the peekaboo style all night, but the postures of the peekaboo where you understand how to move. And the reason why that's important is because you got to know how to move forward, but not get crushed in the head. So, understanding how the concept in which I decided to teach it was less energy, more conservative energy, more smooth rotational movements rather than a lot of hardcore explosive movements that take away your oxygen tank. So therein lies that pressure. You understand how to pressure the guy. We use grunt walk tactics. So the grunt walk is a process of walking guys like Jersey Joe Walcott, the 𝗙𝗵𝗆 Cowie, Archie the Old Mongoose Moore, #1 in the world. All of these guys master that kind of pressure. James Lights Out Tony, that's why he was the dynamo. Now, the next thing is 𝗙𝗪𝗫, understanding the arm block postures. 𝗙𝗪𝗫 was dominated by guys of that same nature. The 𝗙𝗵𝗆 Cowie, Archie Moore, James Tony, Ezzard Charles. So this is what we talk about when we talk about styles, the unconventional styles of fighting, not jab right hand, but what you'll need to do to overcome the things that will be facing you in high level boxing when people adapt to you. So that what we use that 𝗙𝗪𝗫 posture and rolling shoulder for is to set traps because we're not boxing to be defensive. We're boxing to get more offense. So we're setting traps, pulling you in, countering, coming over the top, throwing bundles of combinations. Not like a lot of fighters today who are single punch here, single punch there, 1, 2, if you're talking about a dynamic combination from them. That's not how we roll. We fight squared up at times. We fight coming forward consistently, pressuring. When we are on our back foot, we're setting traps. So there's always smoke jumping off. These are things that when you get to championship level, I've gotten a privilege to be in over 40 camps. So I understand this. And you got to have experience to know what goes on in a camp like that in order to know what you can do and what's called upon. So I remember one of the things that I learned from Coach Kenny Adams. He was giving a suggestion to my head coach, and he told him, you know, the most dynamic thing that I took from him is that when you're punching, you can punch on an angle. So I watched him teach the concept of letting hands go, but then creating angles while you're doing it. Herein lies why I developed the process called walking the floor. And when you're walking the floor, what you're doing is learning how to develop different punch cadences and adopt whatever your teammate pace is. You can adopt it. And that not only helps you understand different rhythms that your body produces, but it helps you also learn how to adopt and adapt to anybody else's movement. Because everybody who was in our class, they had different rhythms. We had tall guys, shorter guys, thick guys, skinny guys, and they all moved different. And at some point in time, you were next to somebody that was influencing your movement and you picked up their movements. Eventually, it was hard to tell who was who if they were just silhouettes. So these are little tips that you want to know about boxing. Understanding how to adapt to styles, understanding how to be in different postures, how to use different techniques, and all of these things, concepts come together. Now, the third thing that you'll need, the second thing is conditioning. And not just conditioning. Yesterday, the conversation was how do you get yourself to a place where you're conditioning better than the trainers can get you at Planet Fitness and Crunch Fitness, you know, or LA Fitness. You have to understand that in those areas, you have to develop different types of conditioning. When I talk about building muscle mass, but without tanking your energy, then we do a lot of slow eccentric training. The slow eccentric training will help you build muscle that has much more oxygen because it's slow twitch muscle development. When you got slow twitch muscles, that holds more blood. Therefore, there's more oxygen on that blood. If you're doing a lot of quick twitch movements, that exacerbates the energy level. It sucks it dry. So these are things that you have to be aware of at a level of boxing. When you have that, then you say, okay, now I need to understand how to get myself to a place where I can build the lean muscle that's going to help me deflect, defend, and make sure that I know how to muscle my way into position if things get hot. You're moving oxygen, right? Now, here's the kicker. There's one thing that you have to do in order for all of this to come full circle, right? The hypoxic, intermittent hypoxic training will also increase the blood cell count whenever you're doing the conditioning work. So it's with mask, or you can do restrictive breathing processes. And those also exacerbate the energy levels, creates what we call fight or flight inside of the body. And the body just starts to produce more red blood cells. And when the body's producing more red blood cells, guess what comes with more red blood cells? Oxygen. Okay, so this is why we submerge our athletes in the water, right? When you submerge an athlete in the water, the first thing his body says is, I'm not breathing. Let's produce more red blood cells. Red blood cells comes from bone marrow. So whenever the bone marrow gets the signal, it starts to create. And see, that's why the body is such a unique tool. And understanding how to use it will help you be an absolute beast inside of that ring. Now, all of that training is very, very irrelevant if you don't understand this one thing that you have to do. And at the bottom of that page, the word was breath work. You can do all of that stuff, but if you don't understand how to control your breathing, then what's going to happen is you're going to lose it because your mind is going to go into what we call a fight or flight, and you're going to experience things that's going to trigger your nervous system, and you'll start losing oxygen just like that. Because when you box, even for fitness, it triggers the sympathetic nervous system, and it doesn't know what's happening because boxing has you thinking about where your feet should be placed, how to bend your knees, how to sit down in your stance, how to keep your hands up, how to block your body, how to angle the time and the distance between you and your opposition, how hard to strike, how to turn your hand. Like, all of those messages are going at one time. And that's why boxing is the most difficult thing to learn on the planet, let alone it's dangerous. So it's going to trigger that. So when you're boxing against a better opposition, then you're going to really experience that. So the last thing that you really have to think about is diaphragmatic breathing and understanding how to control breath and retain oxygen and get really good at doing it. And you need processes in place. Okay, so all that conditioning work, hypoxic training, and all of these different variations when you're running it in the water and stuff, that's cool. But you have to understand how to breathe as well. And hopefully this is landing on your ear, because we don't want any of you guys to suffer from uh, the sympathetic nervous system being triggered and you losing your breath control. Now, when I think about it, we talk about the third component. And if you stay around here, you're going to learn exactly why this is important, because I just mentioned it briefly. And that is number 3. You need composure because of the nervous system. The nervous system is going to be triggered. And when the sympathetic nervous system is triggered, what you want to do is be like Canelo. You want to understand how to be in control. Now, this is Canelo when his sympathetic nervous system was triggered and he didn't know what to do, how to handle it, because in his camp, he felt like he was already as good as he needed to be. But once he got into the ring with Floyd, he realized there are things he didn't know, and Floyd was the one with all of the neural pathways opened up, and he could do what he wanted to do because it was comfortable to him. When you watch that fight, he won every single round. Canelo could not figure out what was happening. That's neuroplasticity. And then once he got into a position where he learned from the best of the best in that era how to deal in a situation, he got hardwired in a treacherous situation. The situation was treacherous. And now, when he fought the very next big fight in Erislandy Lara, who's a more difficult fighter than Floyd because he's southpaw and an inch taller and longer and rangier, and I'd say probably stronger. And when he got in there, he performed because his system was hardwired. And when you are fighting, you got to rely on what you've prepared yourself for. And most fighters, truly, outside of just being better than the other guy, they don't typically go into a real fight of that magnitude totally hardwired for situations. And so you can look at Canelo when he fought against Floyd the first time, he was totally unraveled. And then he fought Erislandy Lara, a much more difficult fighter, southpaw stance, moved a lot more, and handled him and won. And even if a lot of people didn't think he won, he got the belt. So he won. He definitely didn't look like he looked with Floyd. And that's the difference between having your nervous system hardwired and not having your nervous system hardwired. And the best thing about it for you guys is all of you can learn all of this stuff on the internet. Now, you have to basically have a PhD by the time you gather all that stuff together and put it together, or you can do this. You can get it right here. The link will be in the description for those of you who want to start training the complete, what we call 12 peaks of human training for boxing. You see, it's 12 peaks. These are the areas that you must cover. And most people cover 3. If you're really good, you cover 4. But what happens whenever you are able to cover all 12 peaks? There's mind, body, internal. Then you have to concentrate on what you're putting inside of your body, right? All of that is in what we call hybrid fighter. Why? Because a hybrid fighter isn't a perfect fighter. A hybrid is a perfect weapon. If you want to develop your athletes to be a perfect weapon, then I'm going to put a link down in the description, and you guys can go right there and take part in a live stream that we're going to do, going over a kind of training and what it looks like when it's a complete training regimen. So whether you buy the guide or not, or the program in the video or not, what you're going to do is go into this live stream and see what the actual program looks like. And then I'll go over it line by line. And that should take about maybe 18 to 20 minutes of just your time. And when you're doing this the right way, it just looks different. You can just tell the fighters who have that. And so my upline is Archie Moore. So I had to learn from the greatest who ever done it. And when you can do it that way, that just separates you from everybody. So, like I said, this is Canelo with neuroplasticity when his nervous system was not hardwired. And then that's him when it is. Fighting Arislan Delora, just blazing through the ring and just having the confidence. So if you're suffering from confidence, letting your hands go, then this program does all of those. Or you can definitely continue to surf the internet, because there are a lot of great people putting out a lot of stuff. The only thing is, when you're in the highest level, you want application. You don't need more stuff. What you need is to apply it. And this is what you call an application. This is what you do every single day the exact same way without searching Instagram. So if you're tired of searching Instagram, there's a link down in the description and you can go check it out. Or you can find someone else. But no matter what you do, be prepared for battle, and don't just build good fighters, build hybrid fighters. This is Coach Bradley signing out. Hopefully, you guys got a little bit from this and learned a lot about hypoxic brain. Learn a lot about the different type of breath works when you're talking about diaphragmatic breathing, box breathing, understanding how to master your conditioning, knowing the right intricate approach to physically training your muscles, and knowing how to oxygenate your body. Hopefully you took notes, and if you didn't, you want to go back and watch this video and check later for the reels that'll come out talking about exactly this. So when we talk about and close this out with Terrence Crawford versus Canelo, Canelo will be on the focus to seek and destroy. Terrence Crawford is someone who's adapted to that style. And let's just see what giving away 20 pounds does. And for those of you who want to actually talk about the actual program, what it looks like, be sure to tune into the next live stream. And no matter what you do, subscribe to our website so you will get those notifications. Hit the notification bell on your subscription here, because these things are priceless. Coach Bradley signing out. Be blessed, and thank you for paying the attention with your time. This is boxing, and we want to make sure you guys have all of the tools that's necessary. For all of you guys who don't have the time to be screwing around chasing stuff, that link is in the description for the Hybrid Fighter. Just was released on August 26th. It's a year and 2 days old now, in the process of being built, and we finally got it done over a year this week. So that's a masterful piece of work, and you're a masterful cat. So I'll chat with you guys soon, and we'll see you as we approach this mega fight and learn about boxing. Like I said, don't just build regular fighters, build hybrids with hybrid